Hey everybody, welcome to the Caves Cast podcast. I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Ryan.
Today we are going to be talking about a few things. We are going to start with Batman and Superman World's Finest, number 21. It's the continuation of like the Return to Kingdom Come arc and what's going to happen with David and the Gog.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll also be chatting a little bit about like some other books we read this week. I went to Fan Expo this weekend. I might chat a little bit about that, but it won't just be our typical like weekly review of that issue for this week, I guess. So if you want to go ahead and head this one up, Ryan.
Yeah. Just to catch people up, Superman had a sidekick. Basically, came from a doomed dimension, very Superman-esque way. He came into main universe dimension, basically, from a dying dimension. Find out his name is David. He becomes a Boy Thunder. Shenanigans happens. He gets sent back or sent to another dimension. Superman vows that he's going to find him. And while Batman and Superman basically are on this trek to find him via the Flash, they run into him, and the last issue ended basically with David having Superman like by the throat,
Right.
pretty much basically saying that he feels that Superman failed him and Batman. So, um, something I wanted, I'll ask you in a bit. I'll ask you, but
I will say, just like based off like the intro, like with them fight and like the end of last issue, it's interesting how David is he seems to be sticking to this story of that he was abandoned by them and that he like everything that I could have possibly gone wrong while he was on Prime Earth went wrong.
right.
So I mean, they will go into that a little bit more as the issue goes on. But like even right out the gate, I just think it's interesting how like he's spinning this narrative in this new world that he's in.
Yeah, it's almost like he's playing the victim just to be, you know,
For whatever purpose and whatever like whatever ends the Gog might have for him. We'll
right.
see. But go ahead.
Yeah, and so basically we left off with this fight happening with Prime Earth Superman and the Kingdom Come verse. Basically, Kingdom Come Superman basically gets an inkling of it. So does Kingdom Come Batman. So they go out. Um, of course, Superman's just trying to calm down David. He's really trying to. All he wants to do is save him. And of course, out of nowhere, this Superman comes, fights Prime Earth Superman. It's a lot of fun. David's basically saying it's a trick that whoever, that this Superman is basically lying. He's not the real Superman. And, same thing with Batman. Basically, David's trying to just get these guys basically looking like they're frauds or imposters.
Right.
Um, so Superman basically, Primer Superman basically goes off and goes into a lead cave to kind of throw Kingdom Come Superman's, vision off. Can't see through things. Superman hits him with a loud sound that hurts him and it crushes the cave. Uh, Batman basically ends up getting away also. But what's really cool is before he gets away, we see Nightwing. And this is pretty cool because in the Kingdom Come verse, Dick Grayson, we see him become Red Robin. We don't
Right.
really see him it's never implied that he became Nightwing at all.
Right.
So it's really cool to see that in his younger years here, Mark Waid is like, oh, he becomes Nightwing and then becomes Red Robin.
Right.
So I think that's pretty cool too. He's kind of giving everybody's getting like a little bit of a filler to kind of flesh their characters out, everybody from Kingdom Come.
Right. Because we know that this is like a prequel to Kingdom Come, but
Right. I mean, I do want to ask a question about that whenever we get to it, but I do think it's cool that we're getting this red Nightwing that kind of
yeah,
shadows him becoming the Red Robin.
yeah, it's pretty cool, and it's consistent with the Red Robin, but it's also cool to see like the red Nightwing suit. I don't know.
Yeah.
I People love the blue and the black and all that. I don't know. I've always been kind of partial to the red.
I think a lot of people just hated the red because, they kind of turned him red for New 52. But New 52, Nightwing was awesome. Kyle Higgins did a great job of it.
It was a cool run. I don't know. I like the red and black suit. Most people
Yeah.
don't, but it's cool to
Which
see
even
it.
then, I feel like the way I took that was kind of like, oh, that was like a kind of homage to Kingdom Come because he becomes Red
Red
Robin.
Robin. Right.
But
The cape is kick ass, man. The cape is cool.
yeah, I love it. I mean, it's really cool to see these characters get like this modernization from, because Alex
Batman.
Ross, as amazing as he is, kind of wrote them as like these, he always draws these people looking like they're right out of the 70s or 80s pulp.
Yeah.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
it's very that like traditional like peak like peak human superhuman physique all the time, like, and it's very reflective of that silver age classic style, of comics. But
Yeah.
it is cool to see what he did in a very modern version, like you said, because like and Dan Moore is the guy to do it,
Yeah.
because like obviously you're not going to try and replicate what Ross did back then. So why not take it the other direction and make it as like comic booky and action and chaotic as you possibly can with somebody like Dan Mora, who can like, dude, like, and like the battle scenes in here are nuts.
Yeah.
Like
It's
they're all, it's beautiful, man. Like when not to like sidetrack, but before we get on to like the finale of this issue, but when when the Batmans are fighting, or even when David and Superman are fighting, like they're just so dynamic.
mhm.
Like all of the pages are just phenomenal, dude.
And they
Like
pop.
so,
Like, everything's
yeah,
just poppy and flashy and just
yeah.
it's
Like if it
the
were
angles
anybody,
that Mora gets, the angles that he gets, man, is
yeah, I feel like if it were anybody else, it would feel like there would be too much going on the page. But I never feel lost when
right.
I'm being like when he like even in Once and Future, like when he was doing the big battle scenes at the end of that series, I never once felt like it was too crazy or I got too lost. Everything was just because everything was so sharp. You knew where like the line work on a character ended and the background began. Like it was all just so clean.
Right.
And now that he's been doing it even longer, it looks even better, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's really cool to see him what he's done. If you because I went back and what looked at World's Finest number one, and while it looks incredible too, I can
Yeah.
see him kind of getting comfortable at throughout. So, and plus you're seeing him, I think it just throughout too, you're seeing him and Mark Wade just get each other, more and more. But
Uh-huh.
what I really love too is basically there's a little funny moment with Batman being like, "Oh, Dick," and he's like, "How do you know it's me? Or you must be a telepath or something." And he's like, "No, you're definitely Dick," And they basically, he's like, "I'm not gonna admit it to you, and even if I was, I wouldn't admit it." But
Right.
then we see basically Batman, Prime Earth Batman and Superman go to the Kent farm, and they see that Mom and Pa Kent are pretty much dead. There's the gravestones there, which pisses Primer Superman off. It's kind of a rare moment where we see him kind of
Like
just,
lose it a little bit.
yeah, where he kind of just he
It,
can't really take everything that he's seen in this universe.
it's
How
interesting,
everything,
man. Like it's it's cool because it's obviously Wade being the one to write it for one, but it's cool to see like our version, like our Superman, like really get to see like a personal like loss, or like things that he thought this version of him would like to have a heavier hand in, or like care a little bit more about, because like even in Kingdom Come, we know that Superman kind of like removes himself from humanity.
right,
And I correct me if I'm wrong, but he doesn't go to the Kent farm until after he makes that call to step away as Superman, right?
correct,
Like kind of just doesn't even visit the Kent farm. He's just like full-time Superman, full-time Clark Metropolis all the time, right?
right. And then once he drops it, he drops it. He's just
Yeah, and
basically
then he drops it and moves back to the farm, and then that's where he like exiles himself.
right,
So I mean, it's the timing lines up because he hasn't done that yet in universe. He hasn't exiled himself from humanity. So what better place for them to go to than the Kent farm, you know?
right,
And yeah, it's cool to see how our Clark reacts to the other to Earth 22 Clark, because like we know that he maybe, and this might not be like the best way to put it, but they're like lesser versions of the Prime Earth characters, you know?
right,
And I think that's by design, because you don't really have like you don't have a character like Magog or some of these darker heroes that kind of rise up and take their place without those characters have not as having like the same values or the same like moral conviction that the Prime Earth version would, because they kind of just fade away and let it happen.
right,
Like Green Lantern goes into the Emerald City and leaves, and you have Flash who's just
they're being
running the
uprooted by the new generation.
yeah, whereas like
It's a very meta narrative to what was happening in the 90s and all these edgy
right.
anti-heroes coming up.
And
And
and this almost seems like a counterpoint to that now. Like we're seeing the Prime Earth, Batman and Superman going and visiting this world before that and realizing that things like here are not like they're wrong.
Mhm.
Shouldn't and they shouldn't be this way.
Right. But what's really cool is we get this moment where Batman and Superman figure out that this Earth doesn't have any idea that the multiverse
Right.
exists. I think that they are the one and only universe in the omniverse.
Right.
And that David's doing that for a reason. This way, David could paint them out to be frauds. He could have a little more control over everything, especially Gog could.
Yeah.
Um, and basically, then we see David kind of, rally up with everybody in the Kingdom Come verse, and he basically brings out Gog, and everybody's basically all surrounded by Gog, and basically David asks him to find the two frauds on the Earth. He does, and with this beautiful last 2-page spread, we pretty much see everybody in the Kingdom Come verse come via Doctor Fate's teleportation after Gog has found everybody.
Yeah.
Uh, the question I wanted to ask you is, do you think that we know that this is the Kingdom Come verse, but do you think this is the main Kingdom Come timeline, or do you think this is a timeline in the Kingdom Come verse that David's kind of manipulating, and then he'll
Well,
end up in the Kingdom Come that we know of later on?
I don't know. It's because it's one of those things where obviously Kingdom Come, I guess, is both canon and not canon in the DC multiverse. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like it's canon because it exists in the multiverse, but it's also it was touted as like a possible future for
right.
these characters back in the 90s when it came out, you know? So then
Right.
it just designated that multiversal
Well, because the
stat.
reason why I asked that is because I mean, Mark Wade could be setting this up to be different, but I don't remember Superman being at David's
And
back,
here's the
like
thing is like
wanting to protect him and save him and everything.
we also I don't and I'll have to read Kingdom Come like again because there's a lot that I don't remember just like contextual wise, but I don't recall us ever really knowing much about David in the story because
No,
it wasn't about him. It was more about just like superhero's relationship with humanity and and a very meta commentary on comic books at the time and all that stuff. Like it had so much more deeper meaning rather than just David's relationship with Superman, you know?
right.
So like this, I think this is really giving Wade the opportunity to flesh that out. So I feel like this will end with main continuity, like with what we know of for Kingdom Come. I think it will lead into what eventually is Kingdom Come, but I don't know how close it will be when we get there
Right.
because we know for a fact that Superman leaves because David kills the Joker and all this stuff. And maybe part of it is Superman starts to lose his grip on things because he realized that he was manipulated.
Could be. That could be it too.
Like and Batman too. Like when we see them in Kingdom Come, they're so like defeated and so like just over everything.
Right.
You know, due to context, and we don't know what events happen other than that these new darker, more ruthless heroes rose up after David had killed the Joker. But what happened before, we're not sure about. You know, so we don't know like how and this is that story. I think that this is that story, like of how David becomes Magog, eventually becomes, at least to the eyes of the people, he will appear a hero because of certain events.
I wouldn't be surprised if Mark Wade ends this with Magog killing Joker, and we see that to kind of go into,
Right.
or him basically saying that I'm gonna kill you and I'm going after you right now, pretty much something like that. I can
Yeah,
see Mark Wade ending
yeah,
that.
yeah. Like I said, there's still a few issues left for us to know, like for us to find out. But
Yeah,
I could see this being like the lead into Kingdom Come, at least like continuity wise. But then again, like if you run it as like an alternate Kingdom Come like prequel, then you don't really have to worry about like
exactly,
ever revisiting it if you don't want to.
exactly.
But I don't know. I think I would be more interested in if it was like a genuine prequel to Kingdom Come.
Right, I agree.
But it does kind of throw things off because you have them all in service to the GOG.
Right. So that's
And
why I
there's
think that basically I think that he's probably going to switch and timeline jump again and then end up in the Kingdom Come timeline that we know. Like he's kind of manipulate him and Gog are kind of manipulating timelines in the Kingdom Come verse right now.
so okay. So like he's already in Earth. He's in the Earth 22 universe, but not necessarily the main timeline.
Right. Not the
That
timeline that we've
universe.
seen.
So
Because we've seen in the first issue, they were jumping timelines in the Kingdom Come verse. They were jumping timelines.
yeah, because they had gone so far into the future, but then they ended up back in the past.
Right.
So I don't know, but then that gets a little bit complicated
Yeah.
when you start jumping universes, but then jump timelines within the
Yeah.
universe. It gets a little bit too complicated. I don't really know that Wade would want to complicate it that far.
Yeah. I'm sure we're going to
So,
get more context later, but it's just, I'm having a blast with this so
dude,
far.
it's dope, man. And
Yeah.
all the designs in this last page were so cool, man.
Yeah. I mean, Mora just knows how to make everybody look
Yeah,
just modern and beautiful and poppy. And oh, it's
yeah.
gorgeous.
And like Wonder Woman's design is dope.
Hmm.
Even the Batwoman design, like the red with the black with the red cape.
Yeah. Even the Kid Flash at the bottom. Like,
Oh,
what?
dude, yeah, the Wally Kid Flash. I
Yeah.
don't even know if he's Kid Flash. He might just be Flash at this
I
point.
think so. I think so because
And
they
before
never
he
really
gets the
say
helmet,
anything
he ends
about
up at
Wally and Kingdom Come or anything.
yeah, because at that point he's just like everywhere at once. Like he's
Right.
like Mercury, you know. He's like literally faster than everything.
Right.
But he's living between the seconds or whatever they say. You know, like he's a
Hmm.
man between seconds or whatever
I
they call him.
love that. I love that the
Yeah,
way they
I mean
draw
that
that.
design is one of the all time greats for
Yeah.
Flash. But even this, like this, I would really like to see more of this Flash suit next issue,
Yeah.
hopefully. But it looks tight, dude. It looks good.
Yeah. I'm loving this. My favorite DC book on the shelf. It's one of the best looking books on the shelf that you can get. So
Oh, dude, yeah. Like,
if you guys, if anybody watching this hasn't read World's Finest, you should, and you should definitely start from the beginning. But this is only 2 issues into this arc, so you could easily jump in at issue 20.
yeah, and it, I, I, I feel like this is one of those books where you could have almost jumped on at any point, like any new arc, and would have been fine.
Yeah.
You know? Because it just every new arc is a new story. It's just like classic old school throwbacks, you know, DC universe stuff
Yeah.
with modern art, modern storytelling, like the modern like quality of storytelling, and it's just fun, dude. Like it's leagues and bound like above everything else at DC
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
It's crazy how much like I was thinking about this the other day, like the quality of this book. I mean, there are other books at DC that are really, really good right now. Like you've
Mm.
got this, you've got Superman, you've got like Green Lantern is good.
Action. You got,
Action is good. Like well, both Green Lanterns are good. Superman, both Superman titles are good. Like there's a fair amount of books at DC that are pretty solid right now. But like even this,
yeah.
like it's just like
Yeah.
the next year up, dude. Like it's just Shazam, another one is really good.
Yeah. It's just Wade treats all of these characters with such gravitas that it's just
Yeah, well, like I mean, he has such a knowledge and like a and I think more importantly, like a respect for them.
hmm
So he just really likes these characters and really likes just he just likes writing comics, man. And I think at the end of the day, that's what makes him such a good writer is he just likes doing it.
yeah. Because I
He
saw
just
an
loves
interview
to do it.
recently with Joshua Williamson, and he said whenever he doesn't know anything, he just emails Mark Wade. And
And
like
I'm sure most people do. They're like, Mark,
yeah. And he said basically he wanted to I'm really glad he didn't, but for the Superman that he's doing, he said since he's treating Lex with so much care because he loves Lex so much, he said he wanted to make it to where like Lex kind of started looking into magic to kind of,
like
you know,
counteract Superman.
and I guess like he went to Wade and like pitched that idea, and Wade was like, Lex wouldn't like that. He would think that like magic is like too unpredictable. He's a
Yeah.
control freak. He wouldn't do that. And then Josh was like, "Ah, oh, damn, you're right."
Well, it's so funny that you say that because like I think about that, but then I think about Snyder, how Snyder used Lex.
Right. But then
And it's
Mark
like,
Waid said, "You must have read my Fantastic Four thing because that's exactly what I did with Doom."
yeah,
And he's like, "Yeah." And
yeah,
Josh, like,
right.
you
All
know,
right. Wade's Fantastic Four is something I really need to read. I always hear great things
oh,
about it.
it's fantastic, dude. But before we run out of time here, you went to Fan Expo, huh?
I did, man. It was
Hmm.
so funny because I didn't buy my ticket until like literally Wednesday night at like 1 a.m.
Hmm.
Because like my wife and I, we had just been talking about it for like obviously since last year, 'cause we went last year.
Yeah.
But we had been talking about it for a long time, and then it just like kept getting closer. We're like, yeah, we'll buy tickets. We promised we'll buy tickets, and then we just like kept forgetting about it. So then Wednesday night, I was like, oh shit, I said I gotta buy tickets. So we bought the tickets. We ended up getting the One Ring reunion autograph package as well.
Okay.
So you got to meet we got to meet the hobbits and get her pop sign and all that stuff too. It was dope.
That's dope.
Um, but yeah, I mean, for me personally, I just mainly went for from comic stuff. You know me.
Hmm.
I wanted to shop around and do booths and find books and do all that stuff this year, but it was like lacking, man.
Oh,
Okay, I don't want to talk to smack on Fan Expo because it's nice to have a convention close to us again. But
yeah.
like this year compared to last year in terms of like number of comic creators, like booths that were like comic dealers, like stuff like that, it was not nearly as many as last year. Like I there was probably like 10 comic booths maybe.
Oh,
And and maybe it's because I'm picky and I'm only looking for particular things, but I just could not find any shop that was like or any dealer that was like, "Hey, I'm going to buy something from you guys."
right.
And there's usually at least one that I'll walk out of a book like with a book, you know. But this year just nothing. I just got some stuff signed. It was cool.
Yeah.
Uh
But even
the
that's awesome. So
Yeah,
you
it
get
was
to
hella cool. I
talk to
mean,
your favorite creators, and you got to.
where did I put those books at? You know what? I'm not gonna worry about it. But either way, the first couple people I met was Jackson Lanzig and Colin
Oh,
Kelly. Like for those that don't know, they wrote Kane the Conqueror in 2021. They've been writing Guardians of the Galaxy. They wrote the Thor annual right after Kate's
they
finished.
did the Captain America run right before
Yes,
Straczynski got on it.
yes, they did was it Sentinel of Liberty
Sentinel
and
Liberty, yeah.
Truth?
Hmm.
Yeah, they did those. Um
Trying to think because they're actually everywhere. I see their
Yeah,
name.
they're writing a lot of stuff, man. They wrote something else recently, but I can't remember off the top of my head that I read. But they are doing the timeless one shot at the end of this year. The last couple years was Jed McKay, but it's them this year. And I had asked them like if they could tell me anything about it and without spoiling too much. But yeah, so the issue itself is going to be like the end of the Marvel universe.
Okay.
At the end of time, and it's like the last two standing superheroes at the end of time.
Yeah, I
Which
saw that. It's like a Moon Knight.
yeah, it's Moon Knight and a brand new Power Man. So and then they'll dive into like who these characters are, why they're fighting at the end of the universe, what the stakes of the battle is, all these things. So I mean, I will admit when I first saw the announcement for Timeless of this year, I wasn't that excited. But talking with them, they seem really excited about it, and they just want to tell a really fun superhero fight. And I'm game for it, man. Like
Well, doesn't usually the timeless set up something that's
yeah,
coming next
it'll
year?
set up like some stuff that's coming into the next year.
Yeah.
So that being said, I jokingly asked him like, "Hey, do you think we'll see a Heroes for Hire from you guys at some point?" They didn't say no, but they were just like, "Well, that would be cool, wouldn't it?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"Ugh." So maybe that's in the works. If it is, I'll probably give it a shot. I'm I haven't read the most about Luke Cage or about like Danny Rand, but I
Right.
know enough about them, and they were cool guys when I met them, man. So like, I'll give it a shot. I've liked most of their stuff for the most part,
Yeah.
you know.
I'll pretty much get every timeless just to see what they're gonna set up for
Yeah.
the next year. It's pretty
Mm,
much just a 2024 setup.
yeah,
So
we'll see. And then I met David Mack.
okay, yeah.
He was cool. I just had one book. I only have a couple of covers by him. The one I got signed was the Supergirl one that he did for Woman of Tomorrow.
Hmm.
So I got that one signed. He was cool. I just chatted with him for a second, you know. We just talked about how like Daredevil and the things that he's worked on.
Right.
Nothing too crazy. I just had that one book. Um, then I met Jeremy Adams.
Dude.
I was dope. That was
Yeah.
super cool. I had a great time meeting him, man. You know,
For
Jeremy
those
and Jeremy.
listening, if you don't know who Jeremy Adams is, he's currently doing the Hal Jordan Green Lantern, and he did one of the best runs on Flash, and not even just recently. I'm talking of all time, like
Yeah,
one of the
top
best.
three of all time for sure.
Mm-hmm.
He's also writing the Jay Garrick miniseries.
Yep. Which is also
And
pretty fun. Also pretty fun.
he did Flashlight Beyond with Jeff Johns and Tim Sheridan. That
Yep.
kind of kicked off all the Golden Age stuff, which is actually something I talked to him about. I know like when we walked up there, I just told him like, hey, like I introduced myself, just because we've like talked on Instagram and stuff here and there.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I introduced myself and just was telling him like I really liked his flash run, just chatting. We did geek out about the foil insignia variants.
Yeah.
He's like, oh
It's
man, these
so
are so
dope.
cool. I was like, yeah, man. I was like, it's your fault I bought them, honestly. I was like,
Yeah.
when you showed them off in on your Instagram, I was like, I gotta get these now.
Yeah. They're gorgeous, dude. Absolutely.
So we were just geeking out about the variants and we chatted for a minute. But then I had asked him he was just saying how bummed he was when he had to leave Flash, man.
Oh, I bet.
He really didn't want to leave the book, but like he got a great gig with Green Lantern. He's happy he's doing Green Lantern, and he asked me, he's like, oh, I don't really know how people are like how well it's received. He's like, I don't know anything about like what people are saying, and I was like, well, I'm like I work at a shop, so
Yeah.
like, and from everybody that I talked to that's reading it, they all love it.
Right.
I said, and we've had people like that, and I've had people come in and buy it just off recommendations, like from us or from like other people in the shop. I'm like, so like rest assured, people do enjoy your Green Lantern book. I was like,
Right.
your people love it. So it was cool. And then I asked him if he had anything because we had talked about like Jay Garrick, and how he's really enjoying writing Jay Garrick and Judy and all that.
Well,
And
I'm
I
sure
told
he's just stoked to be back and
yeah,
writing Flash World. Like he's with the
yeah.
Flash in the Flash
And,
World.
and and that's pretty much what he said. And I had asked him, I was like, hey, I'm like, do you know like if you have anything coming up like with the Golden Age line or like what's gonna happen with that? And he's like, oh, I'm not sure. Hold on. And yeah, he was just like wasn't sure about it because with everything that's went on with Jeff Johns, and how he's not going to be with DC and everything after JSA, and it's kind of up in the air. And I asked him, I was like, hey man, if they asked you to come and do it, would you do it? He's like, oh, he's like, of course. He's like, I do it in a heartbeat.
Oh, that'd be cool.
So man, fingers crossed. If he's up for it, and if he can take it, then that would be awesome to see him continue on with that.
Yeah, I would be all for that.
Yeah,
I mean, he pretty much did set it up with Flashpoint Beyond. So if anybody were to do it, it should be him. Like,
yeah, exactly. And yeah, oh yeah, the final thing, I got a commission done. I got a commission on the Flash 800 sketch. Shout out Tony Moy. You can find him on Instagram. I think it's just Tony Moy.
mhm.
But really, really dope watercolors, man. So sick.
Oh yeah, that is
And he did like a gold on the logo, like on his chest and on the ear
okay.
wing. And it's fire, dude. Like I had Adam sign it before. So it's so cool, dude. It's
That is
it's
clean.
but yeah, I had a great time. I'm gonna go back again next year. And hopefully there'll be more creators
Yeah,
next
yeah. I mean,
year happens.
yeah, that's a bummer to hear that it's kind of slowing down a little bit from year to year. But I think just people are getting. I don't know what it is. They've been saying in general that cons have kind of been going.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, I will say there was a lot of celebrities, so I think that will keep the convention scene alive. But it
Okay.
just sucks because like while celebrities are fun and they're cool to see and all that, I like to talk to my comic creators.
Yeah, I'm with
I,
you. I'd
I
rather
I
that.
just I just went for comic creators this year. I mean for my wife, because we wanted to meet the hobbits. But
Yeah.
I just want to talk to creators and pick their brain about the stuff that they write and the characters they like and get
Right.
my stuff signed and hang out with them.
I
That's
mean,
the kind of stuff to do.
that's the only reason why I watch interviews. I watch so many like
Yeah,
comic interviews because it's like I want to know what's happening in their heads when they're writing
yeah,
my characters.
I love behind the scenes stuff, like movies, TV, comics. I love it all. So it's just like and that's what drives my interest. I think in conventions is being able to go and do like ask those questions
Right.
and just chat with them and get a just vibe out with them for a few minutes and then all that.
Right. And not even that. It kind of humanizes your favorite creators a bit too, where you get to have a moment with them. You guys get to nerd out about something you both love. It's a pretty cool way to, I don't know, get an attachment to these characters, to these creators that are handling these characters you love and so much. So I don't know. I think it's something that we shouldn't take advantage of because we don't know, like with something with the pandemic happening, people got like lost all way to interact with their favorite creators and basically see
Right.
them face to face and have that experience. So I'm kind of hoping that, even now after the pandemic, hearing that these cons are kind of going downhill, I'm hoping that it regains its footing. And because, not being able to have that content creator and fan kind of interaction,
Yeah.
I feel like does hurt the medium a bit.
And Fan Expo is, I think, is a really good, because regardless of whether or not the conventions become about comics anymore, if they're about like just pop culture in general and just like getting celebrities out there,
Right.
I do think that that alone will get comic creators to these conventions, because it's always going to be an aspect of of the convention scene. You
Right.
know, because like, these conventions wouldn't exist technically without comic books.
Right.
You know?
And I think even then, I mean, you're having, if we're even having just like the Hollywood stuff,
Yeah.
I mean, at least we know we're gonna have a Tom King there because he's involved in that, and we're gonna have, the
Yeah, yeah,
creators there.
or you might even see some of these artists there too, because they from time to time they'll do like conceptual work for movies, TV,
Of
whatever.
course. I mean, like, look at Ryan Otley. Like, Invincible has been giving him so much love with like his like they've been
Yeah,
recreating his panels, man, and
yeah,
so it's really cool to see that. I'm loving that, they're giving artists basically their kind of like the Assad Ribic thing. Like, say what you will, I hated Love and Thunder, but at least they gave us some of those epic Assad Ribic shots that
yeah,
are pulled straight out of Aaron's run.
yeah, yeah,
So,
exactly. Like, so I don't know. Comics are always going to be like a cornerstone when it comes to the convention circuit. So I don't know that my fear is it's going to be like the bigger, you're only going to see like the big creators at these bigger conventions, like Jim Lee or Rob Liefeld or like creators like that, because like there are a lot of really really underrated or even not even known creators out there, like prior to this, I never even knew who Tony Moy was,
right.
like I saw his name announced on the website like months ago, and I was like, okay, like I'll keep an eye out, because the picture they had posted on it was a Doctor Doom watercolor photo. I was like, that's sick.
Hmm.
So I clicked on the link on they had in his little profile they had on their website, and then he's only done like a handful of covers, man. So he's like pretty new to the comic cover scene.
Okay.
But um and then like being in person, like talking with him, he's really cool. He's a nice guy. I got to like flip through a lot of his artwork there at the table. And like that's kind of what sold me, man. Like, well, one, I also had like again last year I had Anaki do my Beta Ray Bill,
Oh
from
yeah.
the Anaki brand from We Live, also watercolors. So I'm there's gonna be a trend here.
Right.
Uh, every year new watercolor for me. But no, like I mean, despite the fact that his book did so well, like I didn't see hardly anybody from the Scott's Collectibles group at the show.
Hmm.
They were all there last year. Like James Tinian, Martin Simmons, the Miranda brothers, like the artist that did Nice House on the Lake. You had so many like active creators right now
Huh.
that at the show last year that were not there this year. So like, and I don't know if they just blew their wad on all the celebrities, because there were a lot more big name celebrities here than there
Yeah.
were like this year than last year. So, and I don't know how any of that works.
Right.
I'm just a guest. I just went to go have fun and meet people. But like, just from my personal experience, I really wish that they would have like maybe a better balance of like high tier comic creators. Like, I mean, I think like the most recognizable person that they had there for comics, my honestly might have been Joe Rubenstein.
Okay.
I mean, and there were a couple other like they had Jay Lee, they had David Mack, but like, and that was just artists. They only had
Right.
like a handful of writers that were there too.
Right.
So I mean, and the Mark Silvestri was there, but like John Boy Myers. So like I could keep naming names, but like these are not all like names
Right.
that everybody in the world knows. You know what I mean? Like people know Mark Silvestri, they know Joe Rubenstein, they know Tom King, or they know like Mark Wade, or they know Jeff Johns, or they know like hell, man, people know Donnie Cates or Ryan Stegman or like even some of these people because they've been creating books for the last 10 years,
Right.
like, or even Philip Kennedy Johnson, like Jeremy Adams. It sucks, man, because like I feel like I was at his table for like 15 minutes, I think, and I was the only one there.
Damn.
And like people trickled in and they were there throughout. I'm sure he probably had a steady flow like of people that were coming and visiting him. But like why I don't understand why these guys aren't like packed, bro. Like and maybe again, maybe it's just me, but I feel like people like creators like Jeremy Adams, dude, like you're sleeping on them, dude.
Yeah.
If you can get them to shows and people love their work and people and you know that people love their work, they're a sure bet every time.
Right.
So like the fact that they're kind of and maybe next year will be different. I don't know. I don't know. At the end of the day, I just want like I just like I would like to see like a big revival and like get as many people as you can get. Like pack that place full of comic creators, man. Like let it go wild, dude.
Right.
Like bring
Just
like big
sucks.
like make it a real comic convention. You know what I mean? But like
Right. Because to us comic fans, like to us, those are the stars to us. It's
yeah,
like,
that was so funny, man. Because like I was just when we were just talking, like I'm sure he probably like doesn't feel like this celebrity, you know. But
right.
he is, man. To us, he's like a local celebrity.
Yeah. I mean, if I have him up there with Mark Waid and Jeff Johns for my favorite Flash runs, I mean,
Yeah.
you're kind of in a special class now. So,
Yep. All
um,
right, guys. We appreciate your time sticking with us for another episode. It's a little different this time. We did like half our weekly comic stuff and then a little bit of Fan Expo. You know, not every day one of us goes to a show, so it was cool.
mhm. Yes,
But
sir.
thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Later on, guys.